Hey you guys, I wanted to come on here and share my thoughts and commentary with you on the situation involving political figure Vernon Jones endorsing Agent Orange and the backlash he's getting as a result of this. I came across this story on Atlanta Black Star, and when I saw it, I wasn't surprised because, believe it or not, I do think there is a faction of black people that adhere to a slave-like mentality in which they do and say things to coddle the feelings of their oppressors, whether it be instinctively, subconsciously, or even knowingly. And this won't be a long video, so I'm just going to jump right into this one. So it says here, a Democratic lawmaker has decided to back President Donald Trump's 2020 bid for re-election despite his Democratic counterparts rallying around former U.S. President Joe Biden's campaign. On Tuesday, April 14th, Rep. Vernon Jones became Georgia's first state-elected Democrat to endorse Trump, a Republican, in his bid for a second term. And then it says, Jones, former chief executive officer of DeKalb County, said he doesn't plan to switch parties but admires some of Trump's political stances. He cited Trump's handling of the economy along with his support for historically black colleges and criminal justice initiatives as reasons for his decision to endorse his campaign. There are a lot of African Americans who clearly see and appreciate he's doing something that's never been done before, he told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. When you look at the unemployment rates among black Americans before the pandemic, they were at historic lows. That's just a fact, Jones added. And I have to tell you guys, that's actually not true. I don't know what it is with Republicans or just political and figures not being honest about certain things, but you can actually look at the stats and see that that actually is far from what he's saying. But anyways, it says, in an interview with WGCL-TV CBS 46, he referred to Trump as the leader our country needed. A generation of African-American families have been devastated by draconian policies that Joe Biden supported and voted for when he served in the U.S. Senate, he said. A change was needed and President Trump took action. Brandon Phillips, a Republican operative and former chairman of Trump's 2016 campaign in Georgia, was delighted with Jones' decision. One, he says, Jones had mulled over for years. Vernon has been a Trump fan for a while, Phillips said. Glad to see him putting Georgia first over party. But top House Democrats were not so impressed. Many disagreed with and expressed feelings of betrayal by Jones, who over the years has proved a controversial figure in politics who has faced backlash from both colleagues and constituents over his decisions. We're not sure what was on Vernon's mind. It's antithetical to what we believe in, State Rep. James Beverly D. Macon, the chairman of the party's House caucus, told the Atlanta newspaper. We can't support an ideology that's diametrically opposed to who we are and what we value. State Rep. Scott Holcomb, a DeKalb Democrat who represents District 81, was not so surprised. They're both incompetent narcissists, he told the Journal-Constitution. This isn't surprising. By now, if you've been watching my videos, you guys all know how I feel regarding this bipartisan system. I think it's a two-headed snake system in which both parties ultimately strive for the same thing, albeit different approaches and ideologies, ultimately with the same objective. And I actually had described in one of my past political videos that the Democrats obviously have mastered the art of deception with their strategy, and they have a tendency to be more covert with their views of racism. It's normally something that I would describe as it being wrapped up in an extravagant gift with expensive looking wrapping paper. And they in essence come with a kinder facade to make it look like they're for the benefit of everyone, when oftentimes they are actually the ones that we should probably be more wary of. Now, just a disclaimer, because some of you probably already have your preconceived notions about who I align myself with. I'm not a Republican or Democrat or anything of the sort, and I don't affiliate myself with any kind of political party because as it pertains to the advancement or progression of black people collectively, their agendas are counterproductive to our elevation in society. They basically will help everyone else, and meanwhile, we still have problems in our own community. Problems that have been here for basically centuries, yet no one's ever taken the time to really address the problems that we face in our community, or what they'll do is they'll subtly address it before moving on to whatever situation the world is facing, aka everyone else is facing. Now, to refocus again, I'm not surprised that a black man is embracing or endorsing this man from the dominant society. It's clear that some of us have paid attention to history and we've learned our lesson about trying to satisfy our oppressors and how it's always played to our detriment. Now, in the past, we've tried the intersectionality mentality. We tried holding hands and singing Kumbaya. And each and every time, we always end up getting burned. This black Democrat is no exception to that, and he'll have to learn his lesson the hard way. I mean, seriously, is anyone else getting tired of this? Black people being subservient to the group of people who at one point saw them as nothing more than savage animals who served them no benefit other than labor and other various forms of exploitation. I mean, anybody with eyes can see clearly that Agent Orange is a man with racial tendencies and ideologies. I mean, we could even just look at his response to the Central Park Five. I mean, look at how he refers to black people at his rally. So again, it's not surprising, but again, I always say it's just disappointing. So I'm going to continue to read this. It says here, State Senator Nikema Williams, chairwoman of the Democratic Party of Georgia, called Jones an embarrassment to the Democratic Party, who doesn't stand for our values. He made that clear today by choosing to stand with a racist president who has made an all-out assault on black Americans and has tried to rip away our health care, she tweeted Tuesday, April 14th. So you guys can see here on the article, it looks like that there's some tweets that Nikema Williams said. So in this one, Nikema Williams said, Vernon Jones is an embarrassment to the Democratic Party and doesn't stand for our values. He made that clear today by choosing to stand with a racist president who has made an all-out assault on black Americans and has tried to rip away our health care. So basically what the article just stated. Then it says here, House Minority Leader Bob Trammell responded by making plans to endorse Rhonda Taylor, Jones' challenger for the June primary. He said he would be sending Taylor a check immediately, according to the Journal-Constitution. He confirmed his intent, tweeting, proud to endorse at Rhonda Taylor, Georgia, for House District 91 today. Always ready to fight for Democrats who will fight for us Tuesday afternoon. So you guys can kind of see that tweet there that Bob Trammell made. So it says here, as we continue, it says, Jones began his political career in the Georgia House in the early 1990s. He moved on to serve as DeKalb County's top executive after winning his first two terms in 2000. His career in politics came to a standstill in 2013 following an investigation into allegations of bid rigging and theft. Jones, who has had unsuccessful runs for the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House, regained office as state representative in the House in 2016 and has since allied himself with Republicans in legislative positions. So I'm lost, and it really takes me back to what Marcus Garvey was saying during. So Marcus Garvey said, the white man has succeeded in subduing the world by forcing everybody to think his way. The white man's propaganda has made him the master of the world, and all those who have come in contact with it and accepted it have become his slaves. The sad part about this is that it's true. Black people seek validation from the dominant society. Because if you guys think about it, until a white person comes along and says something, black people will be doubtful of it. Even if they have solid, concrete, factual evidence of something, they'll ultimately find a way to wait for someone from the dominant society to come along and basically say the same thing. And when Brandon Phillips said that he felt Vernon was doing what was best for the state of Georgia, to whom's perspective was he speaking from? I want to know that, because we know that Georgia, specifically Atlanta, is predominantly black. So how can endorsing Agent Orange possibly help black people at all? I mean, even those from within the dominant society speak about his low intelligence and how it is, you know, he's managed to make it this far. And that really should tell you guys something, that this man is clearly incompetent and he's not fit to be where he is currently. And the thing about this is that other Democrats shouldn't be shocked by his selection either, because that's the pathology of some black people. I mean, to me, it's very reminiscent of the disparaging term that a lot of people know as Uncle Tom. And I'm sure many of you guys have probably heard this term before, but for those who haven't, when a black person is referred to as an Uncle Tom, it means traitorous, a person who basically goes against their own in favor of the dominant society. And I saw social media's reaction to this, and, you know, of course they went in. I saw a multitude of our people referring to this man as that term. And the truth about it is, you guys, there's a lot more of us just like this. And it's sad to say, it may not be in this exact regard, but in a lot of ways, we have to obey a higher power that will more than likely be white. Because remember, we are the ones without power right now. So there's a good chance you have to become obsequious to a certain degree. Not saying I condone this man's endorsement of Agent Orange, but I'm just saying in general, we all, unfortunately, will end up under the command of a person from a larger society. Now, one thing I also kind of want to say too, just to kind of add on to that, is that I'm sure you guys have also heard that saying that, birds of a feather flock together. And when your ideologies align with that of the dominant society, that couldn't be more true. And the sad part about this is that they will never see you as one of them. No matter how much of a disciple or hinge person you try to be towards them, they'll never see you as equal to them. And it's because they're aware of their own position in this world. It seems like that the only logical person here, I would have to say, is probably Nikema Williams, because you saw in the article she was saying how, she wasn't surprised by his decision, and that was just based on his past alone and his character traits. She described him as being incompetent and narcissist. Now, again, this is just me speaking, but I believe all presidential candidates must adhere to white supremacy agendas, or in the case of somebody like Barack Obama, at least help to reinforce the narrative of it. And anyone with the ability to use critical thinking skills should have the discernment to see that Trump is not for us, and he's never been for us at any time unless for exploitative benefits. Now, I want you guys to hear my commentary on this briefly before I end this video. Now, you see in this picture, it's a picture of Sheriff David Clark, and some of you may be familiar with who he is, but for those who don't know who he is, he's actually a former sheriff and former senior advisor for Donald Trump and his campaign. I won't go too much into detail about, his past or anything, but I will say that he and others like him, such as Vernon Jones, represent the faction of those who have no problem desperately seeking the approval they so desire from the hands of the oppressors that murdered their ancestors. And they do this because they subconsciously believe it will put them in equal proximity to power alongside people from the dominant society. And the sorrowful and unfortunate truth about this is that they can rip their blackness off, and that still will not qualify them for power to these group of people. And it takes me back to another quote by Marcus Garvey. He said, "I have no desire to take all black people back to Africa. There are blacks who are no good here and will likewise be no good there." And you guys, to be honest, that's the page I'm on right now. I mean, this is a thing. We know that there are black people in our community that have this habit of spewing anti-black rhetoric or make decisions against our betterment. And I think we need to accept the fact that we won't be able to save everybody. There are some who unfortunately are too far gone, and I don't think they can be saved ultimately. I think that the crippling effects of white supremacy and conditioning a seep too far into their central nervous system and taking control of their cognitive thinking process, and these loose ends, we need to cut off and understand that they cannot be converted. So don't waste your time trying to wake someone up who simply doesn't want to be woken. Instead, I think we should probably spend that time on those who may be more curious or inquisitive to learn more about their past, their heritage and their history. And I think that's where our focus needs to be. So anyways, with that being said, let me know you guys' thoughts on this whole, Vernon Jones situation, and your thoughts on what Marcus Garvey, said. Do you believe that ultimately there's just some of us that cannot be saved, or do you think that there's still a slight chance for redemption somewhere? So let me know your thoughts on that. Make sure you get in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this video, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.